We're going to start talking about the 20th today. Dr. Kornfeld, Howard, and Andrew, Dr. Schulenberg, Phaedra gets involved. Kirk Johnson is much more involved, and Marone. So you guys have got to understand the deep cover. And when you do, it's going to make you really upset and offended at the media story, at the depth of the media cover-up. Because they come on and say stuff like this.
Dr. Kornfeld has a scheduling conflict, and he sends his son instead, who also worked at the clinic, Andrew Kornfeld.
Howard Kornfeld. Howard is an opioid addiction specialist who runs Recovery Without Walls in Mill Valley, California. This is the person who they allege they called on the 20th because of this grave emergency intervention. Here's that property in Mill Valley, California, near San Francisco. So Recovery Without Walls, they say, is an individualized outpatient clinic that provides treatment for chronic chemical dependency and prescription medication. You guys, what he is he's a buprenorphine, Suboxone expert. That's what he does. Here you can see Kornfeld, who serves as a fellow of the blah, 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 was going to speak, and the talk was going to be using buprenorphine to negate the major hazards of traditional opioids. So he is a specialist in the buprenorphine. I don't know how let's just call it Suboxone. You have to be a specialized doctor trained in order to prescribe Suboxone. That's why they promise 24-hour care. When acute detoxification treatment is required, we arrange 24-hour nursing care supervised by Dr. Kornfeld. Okay, that's what they promise. Could that be why the email said we have a doctor working on all care needed in-house? They would like you to believe that Andrew Kornfeld, Howard's son, came in his place emergently on a red-eye flight. Here, under his interview, Kirk is being asked by Patrick Murphy, do you hold a medical degree like your dad? And he says, I don't. I'm pre-med. Pre-med? Yeah, okay, so you're working on it? Yeah, I'm working on it. I just took my MCAT exam. So since Andrew Kornfeld is not a doctor, who was Kirk's email referring to when he said we have doctor working in-house? Let's check out what Dr. Schulenberg had to say about how he was contacted on the 20th. So before we get to what Schulenberg said about how he was contacted the evening of the 20th, Schulenberg then goes back to explain what procedures were completed on April 20th. He said that Prince came in at 5 and explained that that time worked because there were no patients in the clinic. What he meant is they're not open for patient care at that time. So everything they did was as undercover as it could be. He took his vitals, did a medical history, did an examination, talked to him about doing some blood work. And then they talked about having the blood draw and having an IV placed. That's all he said that happened at that 5 o'clock appointment. They want us all to believe that these are the last minutes of Prince Rogers Nelson's life. First of all, this could be anybody in a hat and black outfit. Please watch closely. This is the way in. See, there's nothing in the hallway. And then look in the hallway, 666 on the way out. What's that hologram? Want to see it again? So they go walking in. I'm going to rewind this and ask you to watch at the walk of this person in the black that is supposed to be Prince. If you ever saw Prince Rogers Nelson walk, you saw him in concert, you know damn well he doesn't walk like this. Check it out.
It's about that walk. Can we talk about it? It's about that walk.
It's not just Prince who isn't necessarily Prince. I believe it's Marone or Julia Ramadan, one of them playing the lookalikes. I've shown you guys enough evidence to know that that's true. Get this. Schulenberg says that during this appointment that he administered fluids. It's always fluids, never exactly what fluid. And sent a prescription to the Walgreens on Highway 7, and that's the one that we allegedly see Kirk going to pick up. So get this, not only does Schulenberg go in this clandestine office after hours with Kirk and Marone, He prescribes clonidine, which if you've ever dealt with anybody ADHD, that stuff will knock you out hardcore. So why does Kirk leave in the middle of the appointment to go get the clonidine? And why does Schulenberg say that he gave Prince 2 doses of clonidine before Kirk even left to go get it, and 1 dose of hydroxine? What are you doing there, sir? Then Michael Schulenberg goes on to say, and after looking up opiate withdrawal treatment on the computer, I issued a prescription for Valium. Here, it appears Kirk is coming back in the door with Schulenberg's help with prescriptions in his hand, but what about when he left? I want to call your attention to something. Please look closely at the Kirk on this side. He's a thin man. He's bald, very, very bald, very thin, and carrying medication, probably about 5'4". This man is not the same. This man is thicker through the back, through the neck. He's way bigger. Here, again, we see this thicker individual. And not only that, the thicker individual is seen with a cell phone in their hand leaving on CCTV. So who is this and why aren't we seeing their records? This is one of the Kirk Johnson lookalikes. Either by my investigation, probably his cousin, Sean Powell, because Sean Powell is listed at 305 pounds. Kirk Johnson is 5'4" and 117. Before I move on, I want to point out to you, look closely at his scalp and how shaved it is and how glossy. Now, why would that be? Because it would be really easy to pop a lace front wig on. Also, not only that, look what he's wearing, an Under Armour jacket motif. And what was Prince said to be found in? A black Under Armour hoodie. Okay, so the story I was just trying to wrap is the story that the media gave along with the truth. The media story is that, Prince's camp called up the Kornfelds to come and save Prince in this big, huge rush, but that's not at all what happened. So, the media doesn't talk about his 5 o'clock appointment. And, they show the CCTV, but if you ask me, my perspective is that the CCTV video that we actually see is from April 7th, because on April 7th, Dr. Schulenberg testified that there was 2 different, one that Prince was dropped off and the other that Kirk brought Prince over, and that Prince left in the presence of Marone. And those are his words, not mine. So that would show Marone walking out of the door dressed as Prince. It's all very hocus pocus. So anyway, what I was showing you in this video prior is how Dr. Schulenberg was contacted, because this is the deal, you guys. We're supposed to believe that they're just saving Prince, intervention, crazy. But they go to a 5 o'clock appointment where Prince gets fluids. They never say what the fluids are until you read deeper and find out that Dr. Schulenberg does vasectomies and has access to liquid Valium. Now, anyway, they go into this office building after hours where no patients are. He prescribes clonidine, hydroxine, and Valium to an alleged drug addict. You guys, how much sense does that make? A personal friend, a daughter of mine, she won't mind my saying, we've had years of struggling. I am very close up and personal with addiction issues, and I know what they do and they don't do, and they don't prescribe drugs when you're trying to save someone's life. So the fact that we're told that Dr. Schulenberg was happy to prescribe clonidine and hydroxine and then Valium lets me to know that they were trying to calm somebody way down. And then I'm going to show you in a little bit how, after they contact Dr. Schulenberg at 8, then there's a text sent at approximately 9:03, I think, and it says, "Doctor, am I supposed to take all 3 of these medications?" So I'm trying to catch you up on the speed of what I'm showing you. So back to this. Dr. Schulenberg allegedly saw this addicted need of life-saving Prince at 5 o'clock took his blood pressure, took a blood draw, tested his urine, gave him some fluids, sent him on his way with 3 medications, one of which a Kirk lookalike went to go pick up in the middle of the appointment. And then everything's hunky-dory. And then later on that night, they called Dr. Schulenberg again at 8 o'clock. And let's check out what they have to say then. I know, it's all so crazy. Schulenberg said on 4/20 at 8:17 p.m. that he received a phone call from Phaedra and had an 11-minute conversation with her. They wanted to know if he would talk to Dr. Kornfeld. Schulenberg said that, either Kirk or Prince had reached out to Phaedra to arrange this chemical dependency assessment. And Phaedra had called up Schulenberg to be the doctor of record on the issue. The issue being that they were looking for bupropion. Schulenberg goes on to say that he told them what medications he had prescribed and that potentially Dr. Kornfeld would reach out to him to find a doctor who could prescribe anti-withdrawal medication. Down here at the bottom, says yesterday at 8:30 p.m. Says, got a call from Phaedra, hope it's legit. She had talked to you. And he said, yeah, thanks. Okay, just wanted to check. Why would a reputable doctor say, I hope it's legit? Anyway, the media would have us believe that because they were on this life-saving adventure, that they contacted someone in San Francisco, even though they were in Minnesota. I don't know. I don't know why. They never say. But let's check out what Kieran Shaw, former employee of Paisley Park, had to say about Phaedra's connection to Recovery Without Walls, because what we need to understand now is what happened between the 5 o'clock appointment and the 8:17 phone call with Phaedra, because how did Phaedra get involved? Let's find out. Kieran told me that Phaedra's sister suffered from drug addiction and received treatment from Dr. Kornfeld and Recovery Without Walls. That was the connection between Recovery Without Walls and Prince. Phaedra had set it up after her sister had gone there. There it is, all for your eyes to see. You can read the rest yourself. Now, since they were seeking Suboxone, and Howard Kornfeld in San Francisco Mill Valley, he's a specialist with that, as we established. Howard Kornfeld is, Andrew is not. And the fact that they were trying to find somebody that could prescribe that, there's a reason, you guys. Check this out. So Dr. Mantra reported that Kirk, he followed her out of the room, and I think this was the Kirk lookalike. He expressed concern, asking her if Prince, the one dressed up as Prince, could have really died. Mantra said she explained Narcan to Kirk, even writing it down on a piece of paper, and explained how serious it was, that she got the impression from Kirk that he had no idea what Prince was taking. So basically what I'm saying is, when the lookalike Prince overdosed in Moline and got Narcan, it took him out of his drug-induced state. And since they did a lot of drugs at Paisley Park after dark, especially those that have stage fright, they were using drugs. And so when Kirk followed the doctor out of the room to find out what Narcan was, that's the reason I believe they were seeking it so hard in Minnesota, is because they felt it could bring their friend out of their drug-induced coma should they have a problem waking up normally like they would used to. That's what the investigation said. So Phaedra must have got involved, remembering her sister's drug addiction and thinking about calling, I'm alleging not just Howard that she's trying to get a hold of, but Andrew, because being that he's not a doctor, what he did do was experiment with psychedelics and pharmaceuticals. So let's just get back to what happened after the doctor's appointment and during these phone calls, and then we'll find out what they're doing with all the psychedelics and baggies full of drugs. This is the book Andrew had on him at Paisley Park. Also, it says here that Andrew had co-authored a paper with his father, Howard, New and Emerging Drugs of Abuse, outlined pharmacology and policy of such. And then down here, the Wiley Blackwell Handbook of Transpersonal Psychology and psychedelic induced experiences. So those are some books that he had on him. I think that's the one we just saw, but I could be wrong. So they are experimenting in psychopharmacology at Paisley Park, all of them. The infamous photo. So what happened? They left the doctor's appointment allegedly and went back to Paisley Park. Jim Olsen said that Prince was dropped off. That's all he said. He didn't say who dropped him off. And then everybody lies about everything from thereafter. But let's find out what really happened. So this was about 7:04 or whatever. Then let's see what Marone and the chef had to say between and after that. Marone, she testifies that she went to Paisley Park about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and she was told that she wasn't needed. And then she said she just left. She went to her room at the hotel, 127 at the Country Inn and Suites. Then she was back about 7 o'clock at Paisley Park to open up the doors for the chef. That's what she said. Remember, she said she went back to Paisley Park about 7 to open the doors for the chef. I asked Roberts if he was at Prince's studio on the 20th. He said that Marone had told him to bring the food packed up. He said he was at the studio around 7:30. He said he got to the studio early and was waiting to get into the studio. Roberts, that's Ray Roberts, the chef for People's Organic, stated that Kirk Johnson and Prince arrived at the studio, pulled in, they waved Roberts in, and the cook stated that Johnson and Prince went around to the rear entrance. Ray Roberts then said that Kirk Johnson walked through the studio and let him into the front entrance. So, first of all, the fact that Marone said that she just disappeared between 4 and basically 7:45 when somebody pulled up with Kirk, and then nobody ever asks her where she was or makes her prove it, that's all a joke. So that's why I tell you it was probably her dressed up as him this time. So here, Kirk said after they filled the prescription, he dropped Prince off at Paisley Park around 7:45 or 8 o'clock, and that was the last time he talked to Prince. Saying you dropped somebody off and not saying that you walked around the front and left the chef in, well, that's quite a discrepancy. I think it is. You guys should know by now it's a huge cover. Anyway, Marone goes on to say that the last time she saw Prince was about 8 o'clock when Prince went to his side of the building. She called it his side of town. And that she and Kirk stayed at the studio until about 10:30. So right after 8 o'clock, when they all allegedly last saw this Prince, went to his side of town, that's when, going right back to 8:17, where Schulenberg gets a call from Phaedra and has this 11-minute conversation with her and then texts Kirk and says he hopes is legit. So they're looking for Suboxone, but Schulenberg can't prescribe. So then Schulenberg goes on to say the second phone call, which occurred at 10:47, was Phaedra calling me again. And then that was the conference call with Dr. Kornfeld. So that was 10:47 p.m., you guys. And they want us to believe in the media that they were doing this emergency rescue of Prince. And they didn't talk to this alleged doctor until 10:47 p.m. after the appointment with Schulenberg and after the 3 prescriptions of clonidine and hydroxine and Valium. Okay. Now, this is where you can see the lies too, because Schulenberg said he then went back to bed and started to receive text messages from Kirk at 11:12 p.m. He advised that he did not see those text messages until morning. But clearly, if he was having an appointment, or excuse me, a conference call with Kornfeld and Phaedra, which I think he placed at 11 minutes or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, clearly he would have been awake at 11:12 when Kirk started sending the pictures of the stairs. 9:38 p.m. when Kirk is texting Dr. Schulenberg, and then 11:12 when he says, sorry for that photo. Please fax those charts to Howard Kornfeld. So we all have to wonder, is that the back stairs behind the elevator? Well, probably. Here's a better image of that. And Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I'm going to come back and do part 2 tomorrow because I'm getting tired. So, mwah, love you. Bye.